Right, buckle up buttercups, because today's political coffee comes with a side of legal drama that's spicier than a vindaloo at 2 a.m. Keir Starmer's Palestine recognition pledge isn't just causing diplomatic headaches anymore, it's now got some of Britain's top lawyers basically saying, hold on there, Prime Minister, you might want to check the small print before you start redrawing maps. We're talking about 40 members of the House of Lords and 7 King's Councils who've essentially sent Starmer a strongly worded legal letter that's the equivalent of your mum finding out you've been lying about doing your homework. Except instead of getting grounded, Starmer might be about to break international law. So what we've got here is a delicious slice of political irony served with a garnish of legal technicalities. The very same Attorney General who's been described as obsessed with international law is now being asked by his own legal colleagues to explain why his boss's flagship policy might actually violate the international law he's so passionate about. It's like watching a vegetarian accidentally order a meat feast pizza and then having to explain their life choices to the entire restaurant. The letter that's landed on Lord Hermer's desk isn't just any old complaint from a few disgruntled peers having a moan over afternoon tea. This is signed by some serious legal heavyweights, including Lord Pannick, who's basically the Lionel Messi of constitutional law. This is the same bloke who represented the previous Tory government in the Supreme Court over the Rwanda scheme, so when he's questioning the legality of your policy, you know you're in deeper trouble than a tourist in London without an umbrella. The legal argument they're making centers around something called the Montevideo Convention, which sounds like a Eurovision Song Contest venue but is actually a 1933 international agreement that sets out the 4 criteria for statehood. Think of it as the political equivalent of a driving test. You need to tick all the boxes or you don't get your license. These criteria are having a permanent population, defined territory, a functioning government, and the capacity to enter international relations. Palestine, according to these legal experts, is currently about as qualified for statehood as I am for performing brain surgery. Let's break this down like a flat-pack furniture instruction manual, except hopefully with fewer missing screws and less swearing. First up, define territory. Now, I'm no geography expert, but last time I checked, there's still quite a bit of disagreement about where exactly Palestine's borders would be. It's like trying to buy a house when the estate agent can't tell you which rooms are actually included in the sale. You might get the kitchen, you might not, but hey, at least the uncertainty keeps things exciting. Then there's the government situation, which is about as straightforward as explaining Brexit to a confused tourist. Hamas runs Gaza and is classified as a terrorist organization by the UK, while the Palestinian Authority has some control over parts of the West Bank. It's like having 2 different landlords for the same property, except one of them is on the government's naughty list and the other one keeps losing the keys. But here's where it gets really interesting from a legal perspective. The lawyers are pointing out that if Britain recognizes Palestine as a state, then technically millions of Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza would no longer be refugees because they'd be in their own country. It's the legal equivalent of solving homelessness by redefining what counts as a home. Suddenly, all those international aid programs and refugee protections become about as useful as a chocolate teapot. The timing of this legal intervention is absolutely perfect for maximum political embarrassment. Just as Starmer is trying to position himself as the statesman bringing peace to the Middle East, his own legal system is essentially tapping him on the shoulder and saying, "Excuse me, Prime Minister, but have you actually read the rule book?" It's like announcing you're going to run a marathon and then discovering you've been training for the wrong distance the entire time. What makes this even more delicious is that the Attorney General, Lord Hermer, has previously been quoted as saying that a commitment to international law goes absolutely to the heart of this government. He's also warned against a pick-and-mix approach to international law, arguing it would lead to its disintegration. Now he's being asked to practice what he's preached, which is always awkward when your boss's signature policy might be the exact kind of legal cherry-picking you've spent months criticizing. The letter doesn't pull its punches either. The signatories are basically telling Hermer that he needs to publicly explain why recognizing Palestine would be contrary to international law, which is the legal equivalent of asking someone to mark their own homework and then explain to the class why they failed. It's putting the Attorney General in the uncomfortable position of either contradicting his boss or contradicting his own stated principles about international law. The political implications are absolutely fascinating. This isn't just opposition MPs having a go at government policy, this includes Labour peers like Lord Harrington of Watford and Lord Walney, who've essentially signed their names to a document suggesting their own party leader might be about to break international law. It's like your own family members joining the queue to tell you why your life choices are questionable. Meanwhile, Starmer is doubling down harder than a poker player with a terrible hand but excellent acting skills. On Wednesday, he insisted that UK recognition of Palestine is not a gesture but will secure a viable two-state solution. He's also stressed the need for a ceasefire, hostage releases, and ensuring Hamas plays no role in the future. It's an impressive list of conditions that makes about as much sense as requiring world peace before you'll consider having lunch. The international reaction continues to be about as unified as a group project where nobody's read the brief. The US and Israel have condemned the decision, Canada's promising to recognize Palestine in September, and everyone's basically choosing sides like it's a playground argument about who gets to be team captain. Prime Minister Mark Carney's condemnation of Israel allowing a catastrophe to unfold in Gaza adds another layer of international diplomatic complexity to what was already a situation more tangled than headphone cables in a pocket. But let's talk about what this legal challenge actually means in practical terms. If these lawyers are right, and Palestine doesn't meet the Montevideo Convention criteria, then recognizing it as a state would be like issuing a driving license to someone who's never seen a car. It might make everyone feel good about supporting Palestinian self-determination, but it doesn't actually solve any of the underlying problems and might create new legal complications that nobody's thought through properly. The chief rabbi's intervention adds another dimension to the criticism. Sir Ephraim Mervis has accused Starmer of fundamentally undermining the security and peace of both Israelis and Palestinians and suggested that announcing recognition while hostages remain unreleased could only disincentivize Hamas from agreeing to a ceasefire. It's the diplomatic equivalent of being told you're not helping by everyone you're trying to help. What's particularly striking about this whole situation is how it reveals the gap between political gestures and legal reality. Starmer clearly wants to be seen as taking decisive action on one of the world's most intractable conflicts, but the lawyers are essentially pointing out that good intentions don't override international law. It's like wanting to help someone by giving them a lift, but then realizing you don't actually have a driving license. The broader question this raises is whether Starmer's government has thought through the practical implications of its high-profile international commitments. Recognition of statehood isn't just a symbolic gesture, it has real legal consequences that affect everything from refugee status to international aid to diplomatic relations. It's the political equivalent of getting a tattoo of your partner's name after the first date. It might seem like a good idea at the time, but the long-term consequences could be complicated. The Attorney General now finds himself in the unenviable position of having to choose between his stated commitment to international law and his loyalty to the Prime Minister's flagship foreign policy initiative. It's like being asked to referee a football match where one of the teams is your own family. Whatever decision you make, someone's going to be unhappy with you. What happens next is anyone's guess, but if Hermer does advise that Palestine recognition would be illegal under international law, Starmer will face the choice of either abandoning his pledge or ignoring his own Attorney General's legal advice. Neither option is particularly appealing from a political perspective. It's like being offered a choice between jumping out of a plane without a parachute or staying on a plane that's definitely going to crash. The irony is that Starmer came to power promising competent, professional government after years of conservative chaos. But here we are, watching his signature foreign policy initiative being challenged by legal experts who are essentially arguing that he hasn't done his homework properly. It's the political equivalent of a teacher confident in their lesson plan only to discover they've been teaching the wrong subject all along. So there you have it, Starmer's Palestine recognition pledge, which was supposed to demonstrate British leadership on the world stage, is now facing serious legal challenges from some of the country's most respected lawyers. It's British politics at its most beautifully chaotic, where good intentions meet legal reality and somebody inevitably ends up looking like they've turned up to a black tie event wearing flip-flops. Keep that coffee strong and your legal textbooks handy, because this story has more twists than a pretzel factory and more complications than a soap opera written by lawyers. Don't forget to subscribe to UK Daily Coffee, because tomorrow's political developments are brewing faster than you can say a Montevideo Convention, and trust me, you'll need the caffeine to keep up with whatever legal drama unfolds next. Until then, remember that in British politics, the only thing more complicated than the problems are the solutions, and sometimes the people trying to solve them haven't actually read the instruction manual.